Hey guys, what's up? This is Time Foss, and today, as you've seen in the teaser of my last video, we're gonna be taking a look at this abomination. So here we go. Now before we get into the actual model kit, I want you to observe the box and tell me what's wrong. Good! You've noticed that the name is not in Japanese but in Chinese, and it says Wing Fighters Fenice. Also, it costs 42 ringgit 90 cents. And of course, there's a few more things I would like to point out is that nowhere in this box will you ever find what you will find on the original box. And when I say that, I mean it that this is actually a bootleg kit. So yeah, let's just take a look inside. So after building this kit, here it is right in the flesh, or say like in the plastic, and I should lower my camera. Hold on a second. So there is the finished Wing Fenice, and I'm not gonna call this the Gundam because it's obviously not made by Bandai, but to avoid confusion, yeah, I have to call this the Wing Gundam Fenice. And for those of you who are asking why didn't I post this review last week, was because last week was a really busy schedule, but you don't care about my life. Let's continue on with the toy review. And as you can see here, the Wing Fenice up close, despite this being a bootleg, is actually pretty cool. The detailing, I've already added some. The sculpting is pretty much the same as the original high-grade Built Fighters version. Num marks are always gonna be at the same place as you expect. And to top it all off, yeah, you may have noticed the colors are slightly off. That is to say, the white that you're seeing on this one is not exactly the white that was shown on the box. And to further prove my point, here's the white that they use on the Build Strike, and as you can see, it's a different shade of white. But from a first glance through the camera, you might not even notice it. So yeah, the detailing, the plastic is totally not the best. I mean, here's the shake test if you want to. Now the shake test is what usually describes how solid it is, and so for the most part it's solid. The joints here are pretty much too tight for some areas. During the building process of this kit, these shoulders were the most abysmal thing to ever come across me, and during the building process it was a total nightmare. It should also be mentioned that the poly caps here that they use is actually very squishy and leaves a gray mark on the white plastic. As for leftover stuff, well, you do get some of the Wing Gundam's parts in here, mainly in the Fenice's colors, but I don't see on how you won't be able to build some kind of a green and yellow red version of the original Wing Gundam in the Fenice colors. Although in hindsight, there are some parts missing, so you want to buy two of these kits to fully make a full Wing Gundam like version of this, or you can buy two Wing Fenices and make a half version, like half having this shoulder pad and the other one like this, just having it symmetrical is what I'm trying to say. I'm not good for words today, guys. It's been a really busy day. So let's not keep talking about how trash a bootleg kit is, because we already know how bootlegs work. Let's take a look about its articulation. So the head is on a ball joint. It looks up this far, it looks down this far, it can rotate all the way around, although it's kind of stiff, so be careful because these polycaps are kind of shit. The shoulders, they move forwards and backwards pretty much easily. The shoulder pad is separate to the arm itself, and this flap can move out this far for the arm to move about that far. There is a bicep rotation. Move this claw down and you get some bend at the elbows. It's really tight there, so be careful. This is plastic rubbing against plastic, although you have to be careful when you're going to reposition the shoulders. This one can move out due to the transformation left over from the original Wing Gundam. And the hands are on polycaps, standard ball joints. The waist is on a ball joint and it can swivel, it can arc forward, it can lean back. There is a bit of side to side. The front skirts are molded together, but I split them. They can move forward about this much. Legs can kick forwards about that much. backwards due to the back skirt is immobilized, you can't do anything. Side skirts move out, which allows the legs to move out about that far before this starts popping off. And before I forget to mention the other shoulder, as you can see it's already falling apart right there. This shoulder is somewhat much more limited compared to this because the arm cannot move that full T spread like the other one. But everything is practically the same. The bend at the knee is on a double joint system, which is okay. This part actually moves because of the transformation. Again, you can bend it forward if you want to. Again, part of the leftover the Wing Gundam's transformation. Ankle armor moves up and down. It's on a ball joint connected to the back of here. The ankles move up this much, move down this much, really down. There is a toe joint if you want to use that. The side pivots are pretty much okay. Not the craziest pivots, but it's serviceable. And then rotation is limited to that much. The wings, pretty much articulated. They can rotate on their own. One can move forward slightly, but the outwards movement is really crazy. You can move them up this far, and then you can separate this red part with the white part right here about that much. So yeah, these wings are pretty much articulated, but they are kind of block at times. But with enough patience, you can make some cool things happen. Just stand up. Just stand up. Cool. Considering the Wing Gundam doesn't want to stand up, we have an option to plug in the action base, just like so. And yes, this has a rocking side-to-side joint T-bar in the hips. Forgot to mention that. As for accessories, the first thing we're gonna talk about is the beam mantle, and yes, it is this clear beam part which plugs into that flap here on the wing. So just clip it on there, and yeah, it looks perfect. If you put it in a pose, yeah, looks perfect. What's a Gundam without a beam saber? And this guy's beam saber is actually called the beam rapier, and you can just plug in this beam saber effect part and plug it into the hand, just like so. Next up, we do have the Fenice's beam rifle, and this one can actually separate into two halves of different guns, and they plug in simply like so. Yeah, just like this. This is where I have to point out the weakness of the joints, because as I move this down, you can see that this polycap joint in the shoulder will always sag down with the slightest of shakes. So yeah, keep that in mind if you're really wanting to get this bootleg kit. And before I forget, yes, these two have the moving handles. This one moves side to side, while this one can be stored in like so. Simple. And if you're not using the weapons, you can store the beam rapier on the arm with a special hook. And as for the beam rifle, you can store it on its back using this kind of attachment. So yeah, weapon storage, really appreciated. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at some size comparisons. So first off, here he is next to Petitrits, Mash Kyrielight, and also the entry grade Ultraman Zero. And here he is next to the HG BF Starbuilt Strike Gundam and the HGUC Gundam Revive. And as you can see, the Wing Gundam is a very small Gundam, and it should be noted because Wing Gundam designs are pretty much small. And if you look in the anime, watch the anime, you would know that the Wing Gundam here kind of level up in the same height as the Build Strike. However, in plastic model form, it's not actually like that. The Wing Gundam is pretty small. So yeah, that is it for the review of the Wing Gundam Fenice bootleg. And I know what you're thinking. Throughout the review, I was rushing things, and honestly, I really want to rush them because I got a lot more things to do. And this will still be a 10-minute video for the wrong reasons. But anyway, what is the verdict for this kit? Well, it's simple. It's a bootleg. You should not buy it. It's simple. It should be obvious at this point that you should not buy bootlegs. The reason why I got this bootleg is because it was cheap, and every Gundam store I go to, the Wing Gundam Fenice was out of stock. And when I ordered online, the price was freaking bullshit. So when I saw this one, it cost $42, it was a reasonable price, so I had to jump in. not knowing how crappy it was. The joints, well, you don't do any work, they're gonna fuck you off. So yeah, colors pretty much the same, just not exactly right with the Fenice. Also, after removing the label, which is right there, I come to notice this was made by HuiYan Model. And if you go to their website or you just Google image them, why not? They actually are making 4 kits from this line of the HGPF, including the Build Strike. But it's not the Star Build Strike, it's the full package version. So yeah, it should be obvious. Don't buy bootlegs. If you can, just avoid this. Invest the money. If you really want a Green Gundam Fenice, go for the original. If not, just go for the master grade if it exists. I know the Renashita exists. So anyway, that's it for the review. This was Time Foss, and remember, if you want to buy bootlegs, get the good one, because this one is not good. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Take care. I won't keep you guys waiting. Next week will be a Transformers review.